Since Christmas is only a week away, I figured we'd edit a Christmas photo. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do, as usual, is crop this and straighten it up. Right now it's a little crooked, and I like to just use the auto feature. I think it works pretty good, and I like the way that looks. So jumping into the basic panel, first thing I want to do is just up the exposure just a little bit, and then maybe bring down the highlights just to see if I can get a little bit more detail right here. It's kind of a little blown out in a few spots. So I'm going to bring them down quite a bit. The shadows look okay. Might bring the blacks up a little bit. And then, since this is a portrait and I want to keep the skin pretty soft looking, I'm going to actually bring the clarity down. Maybe to about -7 for now. And then I think that's all we're going to do with the basic panel at the moment. We're going to jump right into the tone curve. I'm just going to add a little bit of a fade. So I'm going to bring this up to about maybe about 16. Then we'll add a little bit of contrast back. Maybe about there for now. We'll probably just keep playing with this. We'll bring the highlights up. Just a before and after. Might actually bring these down just a little bit more. Somewhere right about there. Yep, I think that looks pretty good for now. So I'm going to end up coming back and doing a fine tune on this curve, but I'm going to wait till the end probably. So moving on to the colors, there's a lot of reds in the trees and a little bit in the face. So I don't want to do a whole lot with the reds. I may just bring them down -4. I think -4 is probably good, and bring the luminance up to about 3. That way we're not affecting the skin tone too much, but we are getting rid of a little bit of the bright reds in the back. Moving on to the orange. Kind of play around and see what we got. Again, a lot of skin tone, so I'll probably leave the orange alone. And then the yellow. There's going to be a lot of yellow in the skin tones. And there's also some yellow in the hair. So I'm not going to do too much with this, but I am going to bring it down just a little bit. Maybe around -20, I think is okay. And then the greens, I like to mute the greens. So I'm going to desaturate these. Probably to around -30. And then I'll probably boost the luminance. Just so we can get it to pop a little bit in the back. You can see how it just makes it pop a little bit. I think somewhere around there looks pretty good. The blues, I probably won't touch the blues. Most of these blues are just going to be in the shirt. I may just desaturate that. No, I changed my mind. I think I'm going to leave the blues right where they are. And the purple, the magenta, I don't think I'm going to do anything with that either. So that's all I'm going to do. There's a little before and after. Color grading, probably come back to that later. So the next thing I'm going to do is try to sharpen it just a little bit. So if you can see, the eye is not perfectly sharp, neither are the glasses. So we're going to try to just sharpen that up a little bit. Maybe around 56. And then of course we will mask it out. That way we don't sharpen the whole image and just the outline. So if I toggle that on and off, you can see that makes quite a big difference. And there's not a lot of noise in this photo, but I might just add a little bit of noise reduction just to soften, just to add a little bit more softness to the photo. All right, now moving on to the effects. So for the vignette, I think I'm going to do this manually just because she's looking in this direction. So I don't want to add too much of a vignette and just have it dark in the way she's looking. I would rather have it dark everywhere and bright in the direction that she's looking. So we will do that manually with the mask. So just a quick before and after, all the edits. I think it's already looking pretty good. Move on to color grading. I don't know if I'm going to do a whole lot here. And I may just add a little blue to the shadows. Just kind of playing around with it and seeing what looks good. I think somewhere right about there looks good. And then we'll just play around with saturation. So maybe somewhere around 15. And then the mid-tones, I don't think I'm going to do anything with that. I want to try to keep the skin tone pretty natural looking. Yeah, so I want to keep the warm skin tone. So I'm going to leave the mid-tones alone. Moving on to the highlights. Just kind of playing around with it. Then I don't think I'm going to do anything with the highlights either. So just the shadows. And it gets rid of, there's a little bit of a magenta to the photo. You can kind of see it if I toggle it back and forth. And that blue, and the blue in the shadow just kind of gets rid of that. Adds a little bit of just blue to the overall photo, which I think looks pretty good. So I'm going to go back to the tone curve and just kind of fine tune this a little bit. So we'll start with the highlights. I'm just going to play around with these. Might boost that just a little bit. Bring that up a little bit. Bring that down. I think that looks pretty good where it's at. So just before and after the tone curve makes quite a bit of difference. There's a little bit of blown out highlights right here. So I may bring these highlights down, back down to around there. So moving back to the basic panel, I'm going to just play around with these highlights a little bit more. I may bring them down just a little bit. Then I may bring the shadows down just a little bit. And then I think the blacks are probably good where they're at. All right, so before and after, I think it's looking pretty good already. All right, so moving on to masking. Now I'm going to add a little bit of vignette to this. So I'm going to start with a linear gradient. Just coming up from the bottom. Let's darken this maybe to about somewhere right there. Then I'm going to add another one coming from the side. Darken that just a bit. Then I'm going to add a radial gradient just to brighten up the direction that she's looking in. Not too much, just a little bit. So maybe about right there. So just turning the mask on and off. I think that's all I'm going to do at masking. So I'm just going to hit L on my keyboard just so we can take a look at this. So now looking at the before and after, you can see it's quite a bit of difference. So that's going to be it for the video. I probably won't post next week since it's Christmas. So we'll start the Tuesday tutorials again after New Year's. So thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be trying to post as much as possible. I plan on doing a lot more videos other than tutorials on the channel. So happy holidays to everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.